I think the reason that Donald Trump is kicking ass right now, that he's doing so well in the polls right now, is because he is a manifestation of people who don't believe in government, who don't like government.
Take 30 seconds.
Let me just, he wants to be a tough guy. A lot of times you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with
How tough is it to take property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times, that's all of his donors and special interests out there.
It's ironic that a billionaire businessman who's never been a politician his entire life may very well be the leader of this country in the government. But when he becomes the leader, he's not going to be our traditional concept of a quote-unquote president or a politician. And in fact, if he runs the government the way he runs his businesses, the very concept of government is going to change. It's not even going to apply. It's going to be more like a business than it's going to be like a government.
How do I, as an average person, begin?
Well, first of all, never think of yourself as average. You started off with the wrong question because you're not average. You've got a lot going. I see you're smart. I see you're very beautiful. You just have to get that word average out of your vocabulary, and you have to tell yourself that you're great, and you have to believe it. If you can say it and don't believe it, it doesn't matter. So just go out there and work hard.
And so the reason I won't endorse Trump is because I don't think I'm going to vote for Trump. And the reason is because, again, like I said, I believe that voting is a disempowering thing to do. And yet, ironically, I might just vote for Trump just so the person who is president of this country isn't the same kind of quote-unquote government that we've become accustomed to. So that's sort of the paradox. On one level, I don't think I'll vote for Trump because I don't like the idea of precedents. At the same time, I might vote for Trump because he might literally obliterate what we have come to know as government for the past 100, 200 years. So in a way, it's almost like an act of anarchy to vote Trump into office. A vote for Trump is a vote for anarchy. It's really unprecedented. I mean, I'm telling you, we have never seen anything like this in this country. I mean, this is revolutionary level stuff that's going on here. When was the last time a billionaire businessman, non-politician, ran for president of this country and won? This country has had nothing but career politicians now for decades. Maybe since practically going back to the beginning of the country's inception. So I won't say that I'll endorse Trump. I won't say that I'll vote for Trump. But I will say that I wouldn't mind if he's president because I don't think he would be the traditional type of president we've had throughout time, and a government that reflects Donald Trump's will and desire won't look like government. I think it'll look more like a business. You know, that's one of the things that he keeps saying, because people keep asking him, how are you going to lower the debt? How are you going to save money? And his main response is almost always the same. He says, quote, we're going to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in various government programs.
But how would you actually do that, can I ask you? Because right now, Social Security
you have tremendous
and Medicare,
waste. I'll tell
they
you.
take up 2/3 of the
You
federal
have
budget, and
tremendous
they're growing.
waste, fraud, and abuse. That we're taking care of.
Government programs have historically been notorious for being inefficient and lethargic. In other words, these government programs do not operate like businesses operate. If you own a business, you have to constantly concern yourself with various economic realities. You have to be efficient, you have to be lean, you have to worry about these realities. And for far too long, government programs and institutions haven't had to operate by the same rules that everybody else has to abide by. You can basically spend all the money they want to. I'll give you an example. He worked at an airport and he retired, but he told me some stories where every year the airport, which by the way, the airports, most of them are run by the Federal Aviation Administration, which is a government entity. Every year the air traffic control tower, the airport tower, would get a certain amount of funds. And the only way that the government would give you more funds the next year was if you spent all your funds. Because the government's logic was, oh, well, if the airport spent all the money that was given to them for that year, it must mean they need more money if they spent it all. But it turns out that the airports, they didn't actually need more money. They just purposely spent all the government grants they got for that year on purpose in order to justify getting more money the following year. So what ended up happening, there would be massive amounts of waste. It's funny that Donald Trump says, quote, waste, fraud, and abuse. He's going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, that's basically what was happening. There was waste and abuse. The airport would start buying a bunch of shit they didn't need, also they could spend all the money that was granted to them by the government that year in order to get more money the next year. So the airport would start buying like a bunch of televisions, high-definition flat-screen TVs, and all these amenities and all this extra luxurious shit that they did not realistically need. They just spent it all this fucking money that's printed out of thin air, taxpayer money. They just spent it all down the fucking drain, also they can get more money the next year. Because you know what happens if they didn't spend all that money on shit they didn't need? They wouldn't get more money the next year. They wouldn't be approved for the grant. So this is the kind of backward shit. A private business would never operate this way. Only a government institution that is inefficient and has infinite amount of Federal Reserve notes, green pieces of paper called money, all funded through taxation. Government institutions are notoriously inefficient and costly. So when Donald Trump says he's going to get rid of, quote, waste, fraud, and abuse, what he's basically saying is he's going to run the government like a business.
It's tremendous. We have in Social Security right now thousands and thousands of people that are over 106 years old. Now, you know they don't exist. They don't exist. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, and we're going to get it.
Which, of course, makes total sense because that's where his experience is as a businessman. And, of course, if you run the government like a business, you're going to have a very different type of government. In fact, your government is going to be pretty much unrecognizable compared to what we've been used to for the past 100+ years. It's going to be hard to even call it a government. And this is fantastic fucking news, honestly. And you know, ironically, I feel like libertarians should be on board with this. Because in a way, it'll be like the government is gone. And you know, if you were to take it all the way, philosophically, if you take libertarianism to its most extreme, in let's say the anarcho-capitalist view, the anarchist view, then the government would really be a private entity. That's what they would ideally want. Of course, it wouldn't really be called a government then. It'd be something else. It'd be another entity that handles the collective interests of a group of people. But it wouldn't be called a government. It'd be some kind of private institution. So you know, it's kind of hard to figure the Trump phenomenon. It's hard to figure out the Trump phenomenon. We are witnessing unprecedented, revolutionary things that are happening to the very fundamental concept of government. So to your question of what Trump will do when he gets elected into office, well, in a sense, I don't really care because I'm not going to vote for him. And I think the fact that Donald Trump represents this growing group of people who don't believe in government, who don't like government, who are basically saying, fuck the government. To me, that tells me that even if he wanted to do something authoritarian and tyrannical once he gets in the power, you know, people saying he's the next Hitler. Number one, I don't think he would be able to do that because I think the majority of people who are electing him represent this new movement of people who do not want to put their hands in government. You know, people say that there's like this worship of Donald Trump. It's like a Hitler rally or something like that. But I don't buy that. I think that the average person who likes Trump doesn't like him because they want to worship him. They like him because he's going to be the leader who doesn't want them to worship him. He's not being elected because disempowered people want a president to run their lives for them. The people who are voting for Trump, I would say on average, are people who do not like government, who don't like government so much, but prefer the private sector so much that they would rather elect a private sector billionaire businessman than they would a career politician. So no, I don't think he would do anything negative with his power. And even if he did, the fact that he was voted in by people who say fuck the government, to me that tells me that he's not going to be able to get away with anything crazy. I'm not concerned. And of course, the paradox in all this is that although I wouldn't vote for him because I don't like the idea of presidents, in a way I might just vote for him just to obliterate and abolish our current conception of government. These public, so-called public institutions that are lethargic, inefficient. They're run like they live by a completely different set of rules. Bernie Sanders, the complete weak moron, detached from reality idiots saying that, free education, free college for every, just free. The reality isn't free, okay? Reality is not free. So in a way, I would say that Donald Trump is actually a vote for anarchy.
Gentlemen, I'm Chris, founder of DollarBeardClub.com. What is the Dollar Beard Club? Well, you sure as hell won't be receiving any fucking razors from us to demolish your manhood. I eat shaving cream for breakfast. Instead, for only $1 a month, you'll receive the most legendary beard oil known to mankind. Just keep on growing your beard, and we'll take care of the rest. Be a man and sign up at DollarBeardClub.com.